Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to speak on kind of where I left off last time, talking about believing in yourself. I'm sure you guys remember that. And I know it sounds like a cliche, like if you don't believe in yourself, no one's gonna believe in you, but it's totally true. You have to have passion, you have to have a goal, you have to have a target that you want to hit, and no one can tell you what that is. It has to come from within you, so you need to figure that out. And so you have to do a lot of reflecting on just what you want, and also not just reflecting but just trying to see what you really want out of your life. I truly believe that you have to be passionate about what you're doing, and that passion and ambition will ooze out of you. It'll be contagious. It'll people will know, they'll feel your energy, you know what I mean? That's they'll be like, oh wow, I see they're pumped up, they're really all about this, they're gung-ho, they're doing research, they're asking questions, it's always on the back of their mind, they're shooting for goals and they're achieving goals, and people will see that, and then they'll say, oh wow, they're going for it. They're trying to do something, and that's what I mean. You just have to be in the motion, and yet you can't care what other people say, or think, and it's gonna happen. People are gonna say things to you, and you have to just be strong to combat that. And you may have to prepare yourself, in one way or another. You may have to state facts to them, I'll give you an example. When I said I wanted to be an artist, and people would ask, what kind of artist? And I'd be like, oh, I haven't thought about that. Or I'm not sure. I don't know much about that. I just know that I love art. Like, yeah, but what? Are you going to be a starving artist? Are you going to be like a painter? Are you going to be a muralist? Like what? Are you going to be an animator? Like what? And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure. So I had to do research, and I started taking classes and asking questions and asking instructors and just trying to figure it out where I fit, I felt that I would belong, And I realized I love a lot of the art forms. I love murals, I love graffiti, I love character design. I'm a background design by trade. It's just a lot of stuff I enjoy. I love painting, I love drawing, I love sculpture. So it was really challenging for me to narrow down to one thing, but I realized as a career path, you do have to do that. But in art school, what I learned in art school is they teach you all the ropes of every single industry, from the fine art to the graphic design to filmmaking, car design, industrial design, illustration, animation. So that's when I learned that there were so many avenues and so many things, product design. And I was just like, wow, there's so much that I could do and I could be part of, but I have to narrow it down to something that I could see myself growing, and something that I could enjoy, and something where I could make a decent living. And that's where I narrowed it down to animation. But then again, animation is also broad, so I narrowed it down to background design. And that's what I did, but it was a journey to get to that point. It started from being a little bit ambiguous to narrowing it down to what I wanted to do as a career, and then I achieved it. But it took many, many years to get to that point, and that's why you have to have patience. You have to have, you have to be ambitious. You have to do research, and you have to work towards it, and you have to ask questions and take classes. And just kind of build a portfolio. And that's what I did. Back to everybody doubting you, and you have to be in you having to get the courage, finding the courage inside of you to stand up to everybody. I have an example of that. Like I just mentioned earlier, the art school, where someone was like, there's no way you're gonna get in. That could eat you up. So you have to kind of start developing a thick skin for things like that, things of that nature, to kind of not let it get to you and not throw you off your game, So you have to kind of block that stuff out. That negativity, you just have to block it out. because you have your own thoughts and you have your own doubts and you have your own voices in your head telling you can't do this, there's no way. And then you have another person out the outside telling you the same thing, and you start to believe it. Then you can spiral down to depression, or or substance abuse, or whatever, all kinds of things. And I had some of that. I mean, I was depressed right after high school, because I had the school was over, you know what I mean? And I had to figure out what was next. I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And during that time, things had changed a lot. A lot of my friends had moved on. A lot of my, what do you call it? School's over. So it's like, I was told I needed to do something with my life. I was trying to figure out what that was. I was being pushed by my parents a certain direction to be the janitor, and I was resisting, but I was trying to appease them at the same time. So there was like all these factors, there was like street culture, some drama going on in there. I had a relationship fail, a girlfriend that I had. There was just a lot of turmoil. And I had to snap out of it. Because I was depressed. I was spiraling down and I was going to a dark place, and I just felt I had to snap out of it, and I had to figure out a way out. And so I enrolled in classes at the San Jose City College, and just like 2 classes, just to kind of break me out of my rut, and have like a project to work towards. And that helped. And then I got a job. I got 2 jobs. One was at nighttime as a dishwasher, and another job was a house painter by day. So I was like juggling all that. And then a little bit shortly after that, I just realized it was like a lot to do homework, work at night, work during the day. It was really challenging. The money was getting good, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'm making some money finally in my life. But I just got caught up in that, and I realized I had to drop something. So I dropped the house painting job, even though it paid more, because that way I could actually do my homework and achieve something, like create a portfolio, like where I already knew that I had to work towards something. And that's that's how I started that process. Most of the stories I'm telling you guys, it's no one knows about me. This is very personal information I'm giving you. I'm sharing it with the world. I think I just reached a point in my life where I just don't care anymore in terms of like what people think about me or what they say about me. And I just kind of want to put it out there, who I am, what I am, and who I was, and where I came from, and where I'm at, and where I'm going. So I'm sharing because I have nothing to hide, I just want to be real. I just want to be real with everybody. I've heard rumors about myself before, and some were funny, and some were right, and some were off. Some were exaggerated, and some were not even real. So I'm just laughing because I remember one. I'm like, wow, how did that come about? Because that wasn't me, And I was like, that's weird. But I'm like, okay, cool, that's interesting. But anyways, I'm doing my channel because I really just kind of want to tell my story, and I also want to help others. And influence others. And like I said earlier, I have doubts of my own, and it's just human nature, If you have no doubts, then you're freaking blessed, But I've heard this before, like you're lucky, you're a lucky guy, you're a lucky person, you're lucky. I'm like, no, there's no such thing as luck. You make things happen. You create things. You create your reality. So when someone says, oh, my life sucks, well, you created that. You created that life. If you're like, life is good, you created that. So it really falls on you. and not your parents. You can't blame your parents for not paying for a class or or taking you to this or that event. You can do it yourself, and if you can't, find a way to do it. And that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, don't blame others for your situation. Don't blame others for where you're at. You need to look at yourself. And that's it might sound harsh, but it's truth. I used to do that too. I used to blame my parents for things. And I realized, you know what? Yeah, there's some things they could have done, but they didn't know any better. And they were doing their best. And they had a language barrier, and they had this and that. And they had their ideas, and they had their superstitions. And they tried to put that on me. They try to project that onto me. And I had to deflect all that and figure out a way to overcome their views and their thought process and not let it seep into my brain. A couple things did, but for the most part, I was able to deflect a lot of stuff. They said art was a dead end. I achieved something with my design work. They said art school was a waste of time. It made me a more powerful artist and designer. They said it was a pipe dream. I made a whole career out of it and a living, bought a house, bought cars, traveled the world a few times. So just because someone says it doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's real. It's just their perception and their projections of themselves. They're really talking about themselves. They can't do it. They can't achieve it. So they can't see you doing it, And you just have to be strong to deflect all that negativity. Just find the courage inside yourself to just deflect any negativity that your family's gonna say to you, your friends, society, strangers. Just deflect all that and just find your inner courage to pursue what you want to pursue. And how I see it is, if long as you're not hurting anybody, you're good. You know what I mean? You're not ripping people off. You're not beating up people or insulting people. You're good. You're doing something honest. You're doing honest work. You're creating something. You're selling something. You're making something. And there's no, you're not harming people along the way. You're not leaving a trail of disaster. I think you're good. So, like I said, I know I'm like kind of going on too long about this, but I just kind of want you guys to know that you're not alone, and a lot of us go through this, especially artists. The self-doubt, the negativity. So just try to surround yourself with more positive people and ask questions. If there's a teacher that has amazing artwork, ask him where he studied. Ask him questions about how he did this or that. If you see something he's doing that you're like, oh, how did he achieve that? Don't be afraid to ask questions, because it's just going to make you a better artist when they tell you the truth, or how they did it, or where they went to school at, or how they achieved that technique. And you're going to apply it to yourself, and you're going to improve, and you're going to grow better. You're going to grow, you're going to get better, and you find a way out of your situation to create a new, positive future for yourself. Somebody asked me once, how did you get out of the hood? Like, how did you do it? And I was like, oh, that's an interesting question. And I said, when I was working and taking classes, I saved money. And I saved enough money. There's two things I was gonna do. I was gonna buy a car, like a VW Bug, or I was gonna use the money to move out of the neighborhood. It was getting hostile. I remember just riding my bike to work, and the police would pull me over and start searching me because they were looking for any kind of anybody after 10:30 at night out walking around or in a bicycle. They're just pulling everybody over, searching people. It was just a lot of gang activity that was prevalent in my area at that time, and I was kind of getting harassed by the police. I don't blame them. You see a guy riding his bike at night with no headlight, because I didn't know I had to have a headlight. I didn't know there was a law to have a headlight or whatever. And pulled me over and, you know, asking for drugs and guns and weapons. And I didn't have any of that because I'm like, coming from work, just got off work, you know? And then he's like, lift up your shirt. I want to see if you have tattoos. And I'm like, no, I have no tattoos. But he kept making me lift my shirt up. So I showed him. I had to prove to him that I wasn't who he thought I was. Because he projected. I look like a criminal, or I look like someone of a suspicious character or whatever. And that happened. And I'm like, okay, I thought it was annoying and it was rude. And I'm like, okay, if I look a little different, would you do the same to him? And I thought, probably not. But I understood that, you know, there was a certain profiling going on, and I fit that category. So I was irritated, but I noticed once I moved out of that neighborhood, I moved up to Berkeley, near Oakland. I didn't get that anymore. I didn't get that, like, pulling you over and searching you or looking for weapons or tattoos or whatnot. Like, that just stopped completely. But in my neighborhood, I think I would get searched like every 3 months, something like that. If I was driving a car, on a bicycle, walking, they would just pull up and like start searching me, telling me, asking questions, where I was going, who I was affiliated with, who I was hanging out with, was I a gang member, all kinds of things of that nature. So I'm like, I just have to get out of here. This is too hot. This area's hot. I did have a few gang members in the area, a few gangs in the area. So I get it. Anybody who was out there a certain age, that was a suspect. And I fit that, you know, I fit that at that time. So this is like early 90s. So I left, I saved enough money and I got out of the neighborhood. I was like, I'm getting out of here. And I moved to Berkeley. I had a roommate, I rented a room, and I transferred jobs. So I was working over there, riding my bike to that job, and I was fine. I didn't get harassed anymore. But it was different demographic, you know. Everybody was kind of hippy dippy, a lot of like Rastafari people, a lot of like hippies, a lot of like bands, and a lot of just like Green Day. The lead singer of Green Day showed up to my cafe one day, and it was a trip. But I thought that was kind of cool. But I remember working at the cafe, and I envied the guys. There was these art students that would sit at the coffee shop, and they would just sit there and sketch in their sketchbook, and like get a coffee and stuff and hang out. And I kind of envied them, because I would be like working, you know, I'd be like bussing tables or at the register, making sandwiches, and they'd just be chilling, hanging out, you know, drawing at the cafe. And I'm like, wow, what a life. Like I wish I was them. You know what I mean? I'm like, or, you know, I don't know how they were doing it, because they were the same age as I was, but or younger, and they were just getting to chill out and hang out and draw. And I had to work, and I had to, like, you know, because if I didn't work, I couldn't pay my rent. So I had to do that, and I had to make that work, and that was a challenge. Someone also asked me another question once, why background design? Why not character design? Everybody's always, you know, looking at the characters. Everybody wants to be a character designer. The character designers get more praise. The character design, everybody sees the character because it's the actor, you know, and on the stage, not the background. So why backgrounds? And I thought that was an interesting question as well. Like, yeah, you know, and there's a whole story behind my choice for doing that. But I'll leave that for next time, and I'll go into depth about that, my choices, why I did that, why the percentage of people who do that, why artists are interested more in character design, and why not everybody likes to do background design or draw in perspective. Anyways, so I will leave you with that for next time, for our next conversation. I just want to say again, thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't, please subscribe. I appreciate you guys coming to my channel. It means a lot to me. It's a little bit therapeutic, and I feel like I just, like I said, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to share. I've had a whole life, experiences, and I'm not a young buck. I have a lot. So I just want to give back to my community. I want to give back to, I'm sorry. I want to give back to my community. I want to give back to everyone who's ever supported me, and that's why I mentioned their names. And I also want to help others and inspire others who don't know me, or I don't know them. And I just want to create a community, a safe place for people to engage with me or communicate with me. If you have any questions, things you want to talk about, feel free, and I just want to say thank you once again, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.